Final Fantasy is one of the most recognizable video game franchises out there, with it soon to be celebrating its 40th anniversary in just 2 years' time. Over the past 38 years, Square Enix have worked with a lot of other brands and companies to create crossover events or straight up product placement within Final Fantasy titles. Or it could be a case of Square Enix allowing a company to use Final Fantasy to promote something else. While there are so many collaborations that ultimately do make sense, there's also quite a few of them that are just straight up bizarre and strange. Before doing research for this video, I had no idea just how many crazy collaborations with Final Fantasy currently exist. But the list is long, so I wanted to do a video compiling absolutely all of them. Let's start off with Final Fantasy 15, as there's quite a few here. The wildly popular Japanese instant noodle brand Nissin worked closely with Square Enix in a collaboration between FF15 and Cup Noodle. It canonically exists within the game. There's a full-blown cup noodle quest that sends you on a mission to find ingredients to add to the instant noodle. It's given by Gladio when you come across the cup noodle truck in Lestalem. And this man is a huge fan of this snack, like he gives an actual advertisement role of cup noodle in the game. Just suddenly you're sitting there playing Final Fantasy 15 and an advert for cup noodle rolls on in.
Do you think we could swing by the cup noodle shop for a sec? There's nothing else like them. They're easy to make whenever you've got a craving. And they're delicious to boot. If you take something already delicious like cup noodles and add in the finest, freshest ingredients, what do you get? The ultimate flavor experience. Minced meat is the key to every perfect cup of noodles. The shrimp they use in cup noodles was selected from over 60 varieties for their flavor and their shape. It's about crafting that perfect blend of meat, egg, and shrimp. That harmony of flavors is key.
It's actually a really good food item in the game, increasing attack by 30 and HP by 300. There's even an equipable cup noodle helmet in the game that increases HP recovery. However, Square Enix went to extra lengths to make an actual cup noodle advertisement within Final Fantasy 15, quite literally editing some of their CG and in-engine cutscenes. Nothing hits harder than summoning forth the Royal Forks. Or how about Leviathan sitting in a massive bowl of soup? This advertisement more so acted as an official parody of Final Fantasy 15, with it being titled Cup Noodle 15. Now, Square Enix have worked with Nissin on quite a few other promotions involving Final Fantasy, like the Final Fantasy VII Rebirth promotion of the Donbei Udon Bowl. Once again, Square Enix went into actual cutscenes and edited them with brand new models, revolving around Sephiroth trying to convince Cloud to eat a Donbei Udon Bowl. I'm sure there's probably a reason why Sephiroth has ears and a tail, but yeah, Sephiroth has ears and a tail. For the Final Fantasy 30th anniversary, Nissin released boss-themed noodle cups for Cup Noodle, with each of them containing boss designs of the iconic Final Fantasy villains from throughout the franchise. In 2018, to promote the release of Dissidia NT, smaller cup noodles were packaged with Cloud, Lightning, and the Warrior of Light, which contained a DLC code for the game to unlock Noctis's Royal Raiment costume. And Square even ran a promotion with Cup Noodle to win a copy of Final Fantasy X and X-2 HD. So yeah, it seems like Square are quite fond of working with Nissin. The car company Audi teamed up with Square Enix to create the Audi R8 Star of Lucis that appeared in the Kingsglaive film. This acted as the royal family's official state car. However, Audi did actually manufacture this special version of the R8. It's a one-of-a-kind replica, only one was ever created, and in 2016, a lottery was held in Japan for people to win it. Now the thing is, if you were to win this, you'd still have to purchase it. This would set you back $470,000 US. So I can only imagine that the resale value of this would be quite a bit higher, considering it is a one of one. The Japanese clothing brand Rowan was responsible for designing the main character's outfits. It's apparent that Tetsuya Nomura is a big fan of this brand, as in many of the photos we've seen of Nomura over the years, he can be seen wearing this clothing. The outfits that the main cast can be seen wearing in the very early Versus 13 trailers were designed by Tetsuya Nomura. And although yes, they are fan favorites, they were only tentative until Square Enix managed to get Rowan on board to start designing brand new outfits for the characters. Rowan even dropped a Final Fantasy 15 line of clothing around the time the game released. Vivienne Westwood, a famous clothing designer, was responsible for Luna Freya's dress. Though the dress wasn't designed specifically for Final Fantasy 15, clearly Square Enix loved it so much they wanted to include it in the game. Clearly though, they were big fans of Vivienne, as they decided to put a Vivienne Westwood shop in Altissia in the game, so canonically, Vivian Westwood is a Final Fantasy character. The camping gear that Noctis and the gang use is a real-life camping brand known as Coleman. Ubisoft collaborated with Square Enix to bring Assassin's Creed into Final Fantasy 15, as around the time Assassin's Creed Origins was releasing. This was actually a cross-collaboration between both games. Final Fantasy 15 got the Assassin's Festival, providing a mini-quest along with the Assassin's equipment, and Assassin's Creed Origins gave you a quest that would send you into a temple where you would encounter Arden. Bahamut also randomly shows up to, I guess, send Arden back to his universe. Upon completing this quest, you'll get a chocobo camel mount known as Que, a shield, and a sword which is none other than Ultima. Strangely though, this wasn't the first time that Square Enix brought Assassin's Creed into Final Fantasy. Final Fantasy 13-2 got Ezio's outfit as a DLC for Noel. Both Sarah and Noel also received the Mass Effect N7 armor too. These are crossovers that I would never expect to happen, but for some reason they did. The popular Final Fantasy mobile game Brave Exvius got 2 characters that you could obtain that is completely bizarre. Both Ariana Grande and Katy Perry collaborated with Square Enix to get their very own obtainable characters that you could add into your party into the game. Not only that, but both Ariana and Katy created songs for Brave Exvius, so this technically means that both Katy Perry and Ariana Grande are Final Fantasy characters. Brave Exvius actually got a ton of collaboration characters, though these are all from Square Enix's other IPs, whether it be Tomb Raider, Just Cause, Full Metal Alchemist, Nier Automata, Kingdom Hearts, Octopath Traveler. However, this means that you could have the most bizarre JRPG party setup of all time in Brave Exvius, consisting of Katy Perry, Ariana Grande, Sora from Kingdom Hearts, Lara Croft, and Adam Jensen from Deus Ex. Another Final Fantasy mobile game, War of the Visions, also got a really bizarre character added into it, technically making them a Final Fantasy character, the TikTok sensation Addison Rae. War of Visions, again, like Brave Exvius, has a lot of collaboration characters, but Addison Rae is the only non-Square Enix related collab character. For some reason, Bachelor's Pasta and Sauce teamed up with Square Enix to promote Final Fantasy VII Remake, with each of the different pasta flavors containing the main characters on the packaging. I like how Tifa is mac and cheese, because, you know, mac and cheese is the best, and so is Tifa. Talking about food, Square Enix also ran a promotion with Final Fantasy 15 and Papa John's. We even have Ignis branded on the promotional image.
That's it! I've come up with a new discount.
And I also like how they displayed that not only can you eat the cheese pizza in real life, but you can also eat the cheese pizza in the game. I actually think this one is sort of genius, as Ignis is the crew chef, food is quite prominent in Final Fantasy 15. This is a good collab. But Square Enix followed up with the second Papa John's collaboration with Final Fantasy XIV. Not only could you get 50% off by using the promo code, but Papa John was quite literally put into the game. He's known as Papa Sean in 14 and is a Lalafell. And there was even a whole quest that was developed to be attached to him as well. While we're on the topic of food, some stores throughout Japan also did Final Fantasy Brave Exvius pork buns and chicken bites. This is important information to know. Final Fantasy XIII's been involved in some really interesting promotions, including fashion. In 2012, the high fashion label Prada partnered with Square Enix to use their characters from Final Fantasy XIII to promote one of their upcoming lines of clothing. So Square Enix recreated the entire line of Prada clothing here to put onto their Final Fantasy XIII characters. But it's not just Prada that used FF13. In 2016, Louis Vuitton ended up using Lightning as their model to showcase accessories and pieces of clothing for a spring-summer collection. One of the artistic directors of Louis Vuitton mentioned that Lightning was the perfect avatar for a global, heroic woman. And the journalism outlet Telegraph ended up doing a pseudo-interview with Lightning, talking to her about her time working with Louis Vuitton, mentioning that she was proud to be chosen. I mean, personally, I'm on board with more video game characters being models for high fashion labels. It's insane that such a well-known brand like Louis Vuitton or Prada ended up using Final Fantasy characters to promote their item. Final Fantasy XIII would be used once again 1 year later in 2017 by the Chinese sector of Nissin Motors. They were used for a Chinese ad to promote a brand brand new Nissin SUV along with its safety features. And this is showcased by people putting on VR goggles and quite literally becoming both snow and lightning, driving through a full-on assault from SciComm, and how the SUV can basically withstand that. If I had seen this on my television, yes, I would have gone out and purchased that vehicle. That is insane levels of craftsmanship. Throughout the early 2000s, Coca-Cola had quite the history with Square Enix and Final Fantasy. In 2000, Coca-Cola released a limited edition glass bottle of Coke that had Final Fantasy on it with 2 brand new illustrations of both Squall and Cloud. Coca-Cola also released bottles that came with Final Fantasy minifigures across a total of 3 volumes containing characters from Final Fantasy 7, 8, and 9. Across the 3 volumes that Coca-Cola released, there are a total of 104 Coca-Cola Final Fantasy figures out there. There was also a lottery system attached to this as well, where you could send in the seals attached to the Coke bottles you purchased. There were several prizes up for grabs, all of which were Final Fantasy themed, with one of the notable ones here being the Final Fantasy Special Box, which contained 36 additional minifigures, but instead of having a red base, they had yellow bases to identify that they came from the Special Box. The Art Museum trading cards are a collection of collectible Final Fantasy cards. Their purpose is just solely to be collected. There's not an actual game that goes along with them, and there's a lot of these. I believe close on 1,000, if not possibly more. And Coca-Cola got its very own exclusive set of cards, and these ones are quite unique as they're translucent. The only way to get this set was to collect the cards during the year of 2000 by purchasing a Coke bottle that came with a mystery card pack. Now, to promote these numerous Coca-Cola campaigns that was going on with Final Fantasy in the early 2000s, there was a Final Fantasy IX ad for TV that played that shows Zidane from Final Fantasy IX chasing after a Coke cap. So it would seem that both Square Enix and Coca-Cola were best friends in the early 2000s, probably because Final Fantasy's relevance was likely at its highest around then. Even Pepsi ended up partnering with Square Enix around the release of Final Fantasy VII in the late 90s. They released a 24-pack of Pepsi here with Final Fantasy VII packaging, and there were even these collectible Pepsi cups that came with both Cloud and Aerith on them. Here's a more recent one. In March of 2024, both DoorDash and Popeye's Chicken partnered with Square Enix. If you ordered through the app and ordered from the Buffalo Ranch menu, you get an exclusive piece of Rebirth DLC, which was the Posh Chocobo summon materia. It's kind of ironic that in order to acquire chicken, you must eat the chicken. Valve's popular MOBA game Dota 2 had a crossover with Final Fantasy Type O. For anyone that pre-ordered Type O HD over on Steam, you would get the Chocobo Courier, Moogle Wards, and even a Type O loading screen for Dota 2. A pretty strange crossover. To celebrate the 30th anniversary of Final Fantasy, a free DLC was released for the Japanese version of Everybody's Golf, which added in Final Fantasy apparel to customize onto your golfer. This even included a 30th anniversary themed golf caddy. A ton of Final Fantasy characters were added into the popular Yokai Watch Wibble Wobble mobile phone game. I can't believe I just said that, it sounds so ridiculous, Wibble Wobble. And trust me, there's a lot here. That's because this was a crossover with Dissidia NT, and a ton of brand new artworks were created specifically for this crossover. Square Enix would later on collaborate with Yokai Watch again with a crossover event happening in Final Fantasy XIV. Dippin' Dots wanted to get in on the Final Fantasy action, collaborating with the release of Chocobo's Mystery Dungeon. There were Final Fantasy themed flavors along with prizes you could win too. So those are all of the strangest and more wackier crossover or collaborations that Final Fantasy has involved itself over the years. This is Square Enix's golden child, so it's not surprising to see this brand involved in such weird instances. So I'm sure as the years go by, these will only continue. Be sure to let me know what ones were your favorite and if I perhaps missed out on any. Thank you so much for tuning into today's video. Slap that like button and subscribe to the channel to keep up with everything going on here. A big thank you to my wonderful patrons. Thank you guys so much for the support. I hope you're all having a fantastic day and we'll talk again real soon.